Hi and welcome to our newest episode of the CATIA Systems Talks. My name is Honorata Frings, and today we will learn more about server-side simulation in CATIA Magic. Our speaker today is Živina Strolja. Welcome, Živina. Good to
Hello,
have you.
hello. Thank you,
Hi.
Honorata. Thank you for introduction. So
The
hello
stage
to
is yours.
Okay, thank you. So hello to everybody who's watching the session. And I guess let's get started without any further ado. So today I have prepared a brief overview of server-side simulation feature, which is available with CATIA Magic or Cameo portfolio tools. So my plan in this session is to highlight the main aspects of server-side simulation with a presentation. And after that, I will try to show to in practice how this could work. So hopefully this will not take more than 20 minutes of your time. And I guess let's not waste our time and let's get started. So first of all, what I will try to answer it is, what is server-side simulation? So probably this is a common question which you all have. So frankly speaking, I would say server-side simulation name says it all. So this is a simulation on a server. And now probably you're going to say, okay, thank you, Captain Obvious, for the insightful information. So let's not be like that. Let's explain to you in more details what is server-side simulation. So as I told you at the beginning, the name of this feature, I think, says quite a lot. So with server-side simulation, what you do model execution, not on the client machine, but on the server machine. And the server utilized for doing these executions is nothing else than Teamwork Cloud or CATIA Magic Collaboration Studio. So with this feature, what you do, you execute pre-existing models which are placed on CATIA Magic Collaboration Studio or Teamwork Cloud server. And this is a relatively recent feature which was officially launched with CATIA Magic 2022 X version. So that's why we're having the session, because we want for you to get more exposure on this tool, on this feature. Okay, so hopefully here I answer to you this question, what is server-side simulation? Now let's talk about the motivation. Okay, so why would you want to have this feature? Why you would want to do it? And I would say the main and obvious reason why you would want that you will not need now a modeling tool in order to do model execution. So not always for your regular engineers, it is desired to go into a modeling tool and run the simulation. What you can do now, you can go directly into a web environment, select to run your model execution, and you're going to see the results. Another advantage of this feature that it's not only for the observing the information, it also allows for you to change the inputs, rerun the simulation, and get the outputs. So we support what if analysis. Another point that this is especially relevant to those, let's say, advanced users of Cameo execution. So probably you know when you have a huge system models and when you try to do the execution on these huge models, it could take some time. So with server-side simulation, you can run execution directly on your Teamwork Cloud or CATIA Magic Collaboration Studio servers and simultaneously continue your modeling work. And finally, the last but not least, is the ability of this feature to be connected to other system engineering domains. So we offer REST API for connecting to other tools, and we also, with this feature, provide the possibility to generate FMUs. And I could list even more advantages of this server-side simulation, but we are limited with time. So now let's assume that you are sold on this feature and now you want to test it. So obvious now, the question which you have, what about the licensing and what about the installation? So let's talk about the installation and licensing right now. So if you will want to install, if you want to test this feature, so this is what I already told you at the beginning, you will need to have CATIA Magic Collaboration Studio or Teamwork Cloud Server installed. And on top of that, what you also will need to have, you will need to have a simulation app installed on this server. So this is where I highlighted now in red. So this plugin or this, let's say, app will be needed if you want to try this feature. And if we speak from the licensing point of view, so what you will need to have CATIA Magic Model Analyst or Cameo Simulation Toolkit licenses. But here we have an assumption that if you're building an executable model, so you're going to have these licenses. So typically, this should not be an issue. Just one thing which you need to be aware that in order to test this or in order to try this, your licenses needs to be in a floating type. So if you have a seat license, unfortunately, this is not going to work. So keep that in mind. Okay, so here I covered the installation and licensing part. Now let's go and talk about the workflow of server-side simulation. And believe my words, the workflow is very simple. So first of all, what you're going to need, you will need to prepare an executable model in CATIA Magic or Cameo tools. Okay, after that, you will need to add this model into CATIA Magic Collaboration Studio or Team or Cloud Server. And finally, you will need to run now the simulation on server. Just what you need to also be aware that you can run simulation on server in 4 different ways. So the first way is by using REST APIs. The second way is by using Cameo Collaborator app. The third way is by using Resource app. And finally, the last way is by using Python client. So let's talk about these 4 different ways of how we can run server-side simulation. So first of all, I will start with a REST API. And maybe let's talk about what is REST API. So REST API is a set of rules and protocols that allows different software applications to communicate with each other and is addressed through a URL. So we are providing REST API services for you to use it. And by using these services, you can get your project list, you can get your simulation configs, you can get your simulation descriptors, you can set input parameters to your simulation, you can start simulation, you can check status of your simulation, you can read simulation results. So these are the services which we provide, and these services, they can be used in your internet browser, in Cameo Collaborator user interface, and some integration platforms, and some external co-simulation platforms, and finally, by using scripts. And if you want to learn more about the REST APIs which we're providing, here is the link for you to visit, and you will be able to find there the REST APIs, as I said, which we are providing, or the services which we provide. So this is REST API. Another approach of how we can run server-side simulation is by using Cameo Collaborator app. So I assume that most of you who are watching this session probably know what is Cameo Collaborator. So let me remind you what is this app. So what it allows for you to do, it allows for you to export your models and review your models in your web environment. But now with server-side simulation, you're also able to execute these models. So this is Cameo Collaborator app, and later on, I will show you how this works in practice. Another approach is to use the Resource app for running your model execution. So once again, probably you know what is a Resource app. If not, so this is an app which is used on Teamwork Cloud Administration Console. And the primary purpose of it, sorry for my voice, the primary reason of this app is to browse what do you have on that server. But now with server-side simulation, you're also able to run execution through this app. Just one note, this is a tip for you, that if you will want to run this model execution, your models needs to have graphical user interface. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And finally, the last way is programmatic interface. So we are providing the Python client for the server-side simulation. And what you are able to do, you are able to use the programmatic interfaces for communicating with server-side server, for running server-side execution. So in our case, this is what I'm going to show to you later on. And what I'm going to use I'm going to use Anaconda Navigator plus Jupyter Lab And by using these tools, I will be able to run server-side simulation, as I said to you, but just by using Python scripts. So this will be later. And now this is where I will finish my, let's say, presentation part. And as I said, I wanted to show to you how this works in practice. So let's go into the demo part. And in the demo part, I will start from the Cameo collaborator approach. So let me open a web browser. So here is my web browser, and here I have a link to which I will go. So I will push enter. And what it is going to happen, I will load one of a project which is placed on Teamwork Cloud server or CATIA Magic collaboration server. And here you see an instance table. So maybe let me show to you this model to you. So this is the model which I assume most of you are aware of. So this is a spacecraft model which is trying to calculate what is the total mass of a spacecraft. And I'm not going to go into the details of this model. This is what you can look by yourself. But what I want to showcase how this server-side simulation could work. And here you see what we call an instance table. And in this instance table, we have spacecraft as a system. And this spacecraft is composed of its internal subsystem. And each of these subsystems, as you see, they have its own mass. So what model execution does? It takes all these masses from the bottom and propagates up to the top in order to calculate what is the spacecraft mass. So this is these two columns, okay? And you see most of the columns are highlighted in green, but one column is highlighted in red. Why? Because we have a requirement which is stating that mass allocated to the spacecraft component should be less than the mass estimated. And in this case, what you see, the thruster allocation mass was 29 kilograms and estimated it was 30. So now we have a violation of a requirement, and this is what it is showing to us in the model. Okay, so this is what we could do by using, as I said, CATIA Magic. Now, I come back to the same Cameo collaborator, and I have the same instance table. You see, I have the same instance table. And now let's suppose that we need to solve this issue. We need to solve this issue of 30 kilograms because it's violating, as I said, the requirements. So we give now this issue to be resolved to some engineers, so to some discipline engineers, and he does his work. And what he needs to do, he needs to update now the model. So what he does, he goes into this web browser. So as I said, he's using now web browser. He does not need to open CATIA Magic modeling tool. He goes into this browser and he says, okay, I estimated that the thruster mass is 25 kilograms. So he wants to change this value. So what he does, you push this edit button. He selects that he wants to change it. He gives, this is the value of 25. And okay, this is done. But probably we have noticed that the mass of the total spacecraft was not recalculated. So what we need to do now, we need to recalculate the whole mass of the spacecraft. So to do that, first of all, I need to commit this project into the server. So this is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to push this button and I'm going to say that thruster mass changed. Okay, I will push commit. So all changes were committed successfully. Now I need to rerun the simulation. So what I do, I select this button here, simulate. I select which system I want to simulate. I will select spacecraft. I will select which simulation configuration I want to use it. So in this case, I'm going to select this one, and I will start the simulation. So now, as you see it, simulation is running in the background. It was added into the queue, and in a couple of seconds, we are going to see that the simulation was complete, and I need to refresh the document to see the changes. So this is what I do. And now let's wait for the results to load. And first of all, what we see that now the spacecraft is 90 kilograms. It is reduced by 5 kilograms because we reduced the thruster mass. And also on top of that, the thruster is now satisfying the requirement, and that's why it is in green. So this is how you could use server-side simulation with Cameo Collaborator. Now let's talk about another way, and that is the usage of a resource app. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open Teamwork Cloud Administration Console. So this is the administration console, and I will go into the resource app. Okay, here I will go, and I will navigate into the specific place where my model is placed. So this is that place. And the model which I'm going to use it, this is probably a model which you have seen millions of times. So coffee machine model, this is what I'm going to use it. So maybe I will show to you that model on my modeling tool. So this one, I will close it. And this is the model for the coffee machine. So as I said, probably most of you are aware of this model, and most of you probably know that this is an executable model. So I can select and I can run the simulation. So simulation will start. I will not explain what is happening in this model. As I said, I assume that most of you are probably aware of this model, so you know that this model is an executable. So I will terminate now this execution. But now I want to do the same execution, as I said, through the resource app. So what I do, I select now this model. So I select it by here. And I select that I want to run simulation. Okay, once again, I will be asked which simulation config I should be using. So I will be using the top one. So I will say that I want to run it. So once again, simulation was added into the queue. Let's wait a couple of seconds and we should get the results. So simulation, as you see now, has been started. And what I'm able to do, I'm able to run the simulation as you see it through the web browser. So let's wait a bit. And this is the graphical user interface, which was defined in that model. And this is not only just pictures. So I can start my simulation by turning on my coffee machine. You see the heating started, the graph started to be updated, and the simulation is running in the background. So this is another way of how you can use server-side simulation. Okay, so I will stop, and I will go now into the last way of how we can use the server-side simulation. That is with a programmatic interface. So for that, I have Anaconda Navigator. So this is what I said to you on the presentation. And I'm going to launch my Jupyter Lab. Okay. Let's wait a bit until it loads up. Okay, so Jupyter Lab is loading up. So we see a window. Okay, so if this is your first time, so what you will need to do, you will need to install Python client for a server-side simulation. And let me show you how to do that in the most easiest way. So you will need to go into your CATIA Magic or Cameo installation directory. So this is where I am. You will need to go into the plugins, and you will need to scroll down into this folder. Magic draw.simulation. This is how it ends. When you will go there, you will need to copy this zip file, PIST. So I will copy this file, and I will place this file onto this folder, which I have on my desktop. So this is what I'm going to do. And also what I'm going to do, I'm going to extract from this zip some samples. So this part is not needed, but I would say it's recommended. So we are providing some of the samples of how you can run server-side simulation, and I would recommend for you to extract them because it's going to be beneficial for you when you're going to use this programmatic interface. Okay, so I will come back now to my Jupyter Lab, and I will refresh this folder here. And you see I have this PAST zip file. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to open one of the example files. So to install this Python client for server-side simulation, this is the command which you will need to use it. I'm not going to do this because I already installed this simulation client before. So this is what I don't need to do. So what I'm going to show to you, I'm going to show to you how this could work from the new project. So for that reason, I am going to create a new notebook. And first of all, what we need to do, okay, sorry, I didn't select this one. We need to create simulation client. So let's say we want to create simulation client. Okay, and in order to create the simulation client, what we need to do, we need to import some libs, import libraries from that PAST. Okay, so this is what we need to do. And once again, you can use these example files and you can copy these things, how to create a client and how to import these things. So this is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to copy these two lines. I will go into here and I will paste it. Okay, so what I need to provide now, I need to provide my Teamwork Cloud server address. So the server address of my Teamwork Cloud is this one. So I'm going to provide this one, and I'm going to paste it into this field here. Okay, now I'm going to provide my username. So the username on the Teamwork Cloud server. I could provide a password, but because this is a session which everybody is seeing, so I'm not going to show to you my password. So I'm just going to delete it. Later on, you're going to see what will happen with that. And that's it. The last thing, I'm going to leave it. So this is going to ignore some of the certificate warning. So this is, I'm going to leave it to false. Okay. Now I will start running this piece of code. So I will select run. Now you see I'm asked of a password. So I'm going to input my password. Okay, something happened. And now let's test it. So what should happen? We should, with these two lines, we should create it as a simulation client. And to test this part, what we just need to write, we need to write get running, and like that. Okay, and once again, you need to execute this part. So, okay, we did that, but we see we get some warnings. And these warnings are related to, once again, to the certificates. So what you can do, you can ignore this warning. So if you will go into this example file, so you can copy these lines, and these lines are used for ignoring these warnings. So probably it's not a good idea to ignore that, but in my case, I don't have time, to install the certificate, so that's why I'm going to ignore it. So this is what I'm going to put, and I will restart my code once again. So let's wait a bit. I need to provide my password once again. And you see now what we are seeing, that we created a client, but nothing is running. So nothing is running on that simulation server. So in order to run it, once again, I'm going to use the same example, and I'm going to copy some of the lines. So to run a simulation, this is what you need to do. You need to type client.run in the brackets or in the parentheses. You will need to type the sample project name and the config which you want to use. So I'm going to use this config, and I'm going to select to run it. So like that. And you see, now we get a result. Now it's saying that simulation was started and something is happening. Okay. Last point, which I'm going to show to you now, is how to get the status of a simulation. So this is what I'm going to copy once again. And once again, I'm going to paste it here. Now I will need to say what is my simulation ID. And simulation ID, this is where it is defined. So I'm just going to copy this line. And I'm going to paste it. Okay, and once again, I will select that I want to run this piece of code. And now you see it's showing to me the status of my simulation. And also on top of that, in here, we are seeing that if there will be some graphical user interfaces, I will be able to click on them. So if I will click on this link, I'm going to see the same windows which I displayed to you previously. So once again, this is the same windows, and we can run the execution from here. So once again, just to show to you that this is not just some pictures, I will say, let's turn on. And you see now the simulation gets started on that server and it's running. So this is how we can work with server-side on programmatic interface. So due to time reasons, I'm just showing to you, the basics, yeah? But if you will go through these example files, so you're going to see that we are able to change the inputs, we are able to visualize results in a way which we like, because Python is one of the most common language used in the big data applications, in the big data field. So it has a lot of frameworks and libraries for visualizing information. So this is what you could use. As I said, due to time reasons, I'm not able to show to you everything what I want, but I guess I showed you the main principles of a server-side simulation. And this is where I will finish. And I guess let's go into a Q&A part.
Great, let's do that. Yeah. So if you have any questions, thank you first for this great presentation, Žilvinas. If you have any questions, please type them into the questions pane or the comment section. We have one question from Ekin, who's asking if this Jupyter notebook be available for us. Can we make it available, Žilvinas, maybe in our community?
It's available. It's so for personal use, this is a product which you can download from internet. You just go, as I said, just type Anaconda Navigator in the Google. You will be navigated to a web page where you can download this, and from there you will be able to use the Jupyter Lab.
Very good. Let's change the view a little bit. Ekin, I hope this answers your question. I have one more question from the community. Can I change inputs in Jupyter?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course, you can change the inputs. So once again, just to show to you some of examples. So we are able to change the inputs. We're able to provide, we're able to say, okay, what will be the value of a specific property in your model? So yeah, you can do that definitely.
Very good. Ekin means she meant the coffee machine content. Can you share the model of the coffee machine in the community?
Oh yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah,
no problem.
Okay,
yeah.
Ekin, we will share this content in the post of our CATIA MBSE Cyber Systems community. You can see the link here. When you go to the community, you can just register for free. And the first post that you will see is this talk, and Žilvinas will upload the project to this community then.
And also, by the way, one additional thing just wanted to say, that you can find this coffee machine sample inside your CATIA Magic installation directory. So if you will go into CATIA Magic installation directory, you will go into samples, you will go into simulation, and you will find this coffee machine model.
Sorry, we didn't. You need to show it again because we haven't been able to see your view.
Okay, so this is what I was saying. You will need to go into CATIA Magic installation directory, go into samples, go into simulation folder, and you will find coffee machine sample.
Very good. Thanks a lot. I think that answers Ekin's question. Maybe one more, and then we are out of time. We already have TWC installed at our company. It's another question from the community. Version of it is 2022X, and can we add server-side simulation into this installation, or do we need to reinstall TWC?
Yeah, so you can add, you don't need to reinstall it. So you can add this component of simulation app, and you should be good.
Very good. Okay, I can, and it's still not answered, but anyway, you can please go to the community and then you can ask your question again and Jilvinas will try to answer it in the community,
Yes,
because in
sure.
LinkedIn you will not be able to comment to this talk after it's finished. So I think that's it from us. Thanks for your attention. Before we leave, I would like to invite you to join our next CATIA system talk, which will be broadcast on December 6th, and we will be talking about CATIA Electrical Schematics Designer and how to get started with that one. So thanks a lot, everyone. Have a lovely day. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.